Supporters of President John Mahama, the National Democratic Congress candidate in the Ghana presidential election, have taken to the streets of Accra and other cities to celebrate his presumed victory in the election. Though official results are yet to be declared by the Electoral Commission, it is no more a secret that the former president is the winner of the contest, as his main rival and incumbent Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia of the National Patriotic Party has conceded defeat and congratulated the 66-year-old. Arise News Chief Correspondent Tokunbo Oyetunji has the details.
Officially, Ghana waits, but unofficially, the entire nation is in celebration. A celebration of the return of a man who had failed twice in his bid to return to office since he was defeated by the outgoing president in 2016, John Mahama. Less than 24 hours after voting ended following a heated campaigns between the two leading parties, the National Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, the direction that the nation was headed was clear enough even without the Electoral Commission's official announcement of the results. A message on the X-handle of Mr. Mahama confirming his opponent's acknowledgement of his victory in the contest on Sunday morning reset the harsh tone with which the victory was being discussed. Mr. Mahama thanked Ghana for giving him the victory and another chance to lead them again. That was all that his supporters needed to hit the streets across the country with wild jubilation.
I'm here to support our president-elect, that's His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And I believe and I know that he is going to change this economy. We know what he has done before, and he coming back, we know he will do exceedingly abundant, above what we Ghanaians we think of. Because as it stands now, Ghana's economy is in shambles. It is totally destroyed, and it will need time to revive. But with the experience in NDC, we know we have experience. If I should mention a name, I know we have people like Kobna Dufour, we have Setekpe, we have so many people in Ghana, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia in the NDC that can change the economy of Ghana in no time. So we trust them to do that in the shortest possible of time.
It means everything. I'm really, really happy that he has won because more jobs are coming. We are expecting the youth to watch out too. With the youth, it has helped us and it will help us to improve more. Works are more coming. It will help the younger ones that are coming up to get more jobs, more education.
They are expectant that the change they sought going to the polls is finally here with them. Now, the entire nation awaits the official declaration of the results, an acceptance speech, and a clear plan on how to quickly turn the economic fortunes of Ghanaians around by the man of the moment, John Dramani Mahama. Tokunbo Oyetunji, Arise News, Accra.
More so, Ghana's election brings to mind a new wave of transfer of power in African politics as another opposition leader, John Mahama, delivers crushing defeat on the governing party in the country. Arise correspondent Omo Bazuaye takes a look at the emerging pattern and the factors responsible.
Opposition leader and former president of Ghana, John Mahama, returns to power in the West African country 7 years after leaving office. His remarkable victory in Ghana's general elections on Saturday significantly marks another transfer of power from the ruling party to the opposition in recent time in African politics. Similar opposition victories have been recorded in Senegal, Mauritius, and Botswana. Political watchers attribute the trend to a number of reasons, major among which is high cost of living, corruption, and a stronger opposition voice. According to political analysts, the pattern is likely to continue in 2025 and could cause trouble for other African leaders whose countries are expected to go into elections in the year. A look at the results of most of the elections in 2024 shows massive defeats for the governing parties, with many of them losing their once tight grip on power. In Botswana, the Botswana Democratic Party, BDP, that has ruled since independence in 1966, lost in the October general elections. The governing party, Mauritius, also lost at the polls to the opposition coalition in that country, sweeping nearly all the seats in the country's parliament. The trend started in Senegal, where opposition leader Bassirou Faye rose from prison to overcome the tough obstacles put in his way by Macky Sall in a frantic attempt to avoid defeat. Omo Bazwai, Arise News.
Joining us now on this show is Ibrahim Faruk, Africa Program Coordinator, Yiaga Africa. He will be joined by Dr. Victor Okhai, a Global Affairs Analyst. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Ibrahim Faruk, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Good morning from Accra, Ghana.
Well, very good. Well, how did they say it? Akwaba. Welcome to this program. But first, let's...
Yes, you say Akwaba, and you reply and say Medase, which means thank you.
Excellent. Let's get your perspective on what has just transpired in Ghana. The election, the concession by the vice president, and then the return of President John Mahama, and whether, you know, the people are justified to be so optimistic, so euphoric. I think that's the word. Let's start with you.
Like you said, we're seeing from the ruling NPP to the opposition National Democratic Congress, the NDC. And on the streets of Ghana, we've been seeing citizens who are celebrating. From our observations, this is a litmus test for Ghana's democratic maturity. And I think that we have seen with the concession speech of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the current vice president and the candidate of the new Patriotic Party, the ruling party in Ghana, that Ghana is truly a stable democracy. For us at Yiaga Africa, we deployed an election study and observation mission to observe election administration and study the results management process, to look at citizens' participation levels, the use of electoral technology and issue-based politics that came into play in these elections. And we've seen how the issues have shaped these elections. The economy has been on the minds and on the lips of many Ghanaians. And this, I think, weighed heavily on the minds of the voters as they went to the polls on the 7th of December 2024 to usher in a new administration that comes in with so much hope and so much euphoria, like you've mentioned.
Well, Dr. Okhai, you are with us in the studio here. What are your major takes on the outcome of the Ghanaian election?
The Ghanaians have done it again. I say so because in Africa, this is not very usual. I mean, eventually people may concede, but to have conceded even before the final results came in is, it shows the level of maturity of the Ghanaians, and I'm highly impressed. And to think that this is something we should be saying to our leaders, please, can you take it's funny when I say it, but I mean, it is what it is. But I'm not surprised at what has happened in Ghana. Akufo, very eloquent, very, in his early days, he was, everyone saw him like a messiah and all that. But what has happened is a situation where the economy dipped, and many young people, frankly, this is an election for the young people of Ghana. They were the ones that decided this election. Many of them were fed up with the way the things were going, and they wanted change. It was obvious, and so it wasn't. It was more like a vote of no confidence on the administration, and that's what unfortunately affected if I can call him incumbent, because he's the vice president. you know, but that's exactly what happened. But the Ghanaian people spoke, the electoral body respected it, and democracy has won at the end of the day.
All right, thank you very much. Let me come back to Mr. Faruk. You mentioned a few things about, and one of the things that stood out is results management process. A lot of people have judged the election process as quite successful. What are some of what were some of the critical success factors? What made this election work? You know, the details. You talk about result, you know, the Ghanaian people, the people in Ghana, their participation, the result management process, the transparency, and other things that worked. I'd like you to just detail that for us here. Maybe there'll be some lessons. And then coming back to Dr. Okhai with us in the studio, the INEC chairman in Nigeria said that Ghana learned some lessons from Nigeria's electoral process. Do you agree with that statement? And if so, what are some of the lessons that Ghana might have learned from us? Or perhaps it's the other way, where what lessons should Nigeria be learning from Ghana? I'll start with you, Mr. Faruk.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think one thing that's really worked in this election was the use of electoral technology. And the Electoral Commission of Ghana procured a biometric voter device known as the BVD, which is used to verify the voters on election day at the polling station. But what is very unique about this device is that when a voter arrives at the polling station, he or she is first identified as being at the correct polling station, and the device is used to verify them either using their fingerprint or facial recognition. And what happens is that when a voter comes and places his or her finger on the biometric voter device, you would either saying rejected or verified. And every person in the vicinity of the polling station can hear that voice prompt very clearly. And it's a clear indication of the transparency of the process, that a voter who comes and belongs to that polling station is able to vote. At the polling station level, there's a collation that takes place. And if you remember, these elections are both for the presidential and 276 parliamentary seats. So collation takes place at the polling station first of all, and where the agents are present, observers are present, security officials are present. The results sheets are signed in the presence of all of these stakeholders. And then collation now moves to a regional collation center. And at the regional collation center, that is where the results for members of parliament are announced. And the results are sent via fax, using a fax machine from the regional center to the national collation center. The copies of the faxed results are shared with the party agents, with the observers, with the media who are at the National Collation Center in a very transparent process. And when the results are received at the National Collation Center, the party agents have 20 minutes to verify that the results that have come in tally with the results that they've been receiving from the field as well. And collation continues at the National Collation Center. Collation is still ongoing, and we expect that the results will be officially declared by the Electoral Commission any moment from now.
Thank you very much for breaking it down for us. Very tight process you've described. Dr. Okhai, lessons from Ghana, according to the INEC chairman, or like I said, should we be learning lessons from Ghana?
Thank you very much for this question. I mean, just listening to him, it sounded strange to me, something like it's utopian, you know, something idealistic and all that. But in fact, this is something that has been on ground here, okay? The beavers, the difference in her case is that the goat seller will not let go of the rope. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. You have brought a good process, but you won't let go of the old process, and you know, which is why it's not working here. The Ghanaians have, yes, if it's about the beavers, they took it, I wouldn't even say took it to the next level. They practicalized what the manufacturers of the beavers, you know, how they intended for it to be used. Nigeria is a case in how not to use the beavers, unfortunately. And so If you say it is the beavers that they have picked, if you say they have learned, they've come here to, if Yakubu say they came here to pick up something from us, fine. The beavers, they came, they saw the technology, how it worked, and they made it work in their system. But I think we have much more to learn from them. You know, we need to learn integrity.
Are you saying there's no inspiration from Nigeria at all?
To,
Maybe the DVD was
the
an
inspiration. I said the beavers. Okay. The beavers. You know, it's like I come, I see something that works in your place.
Yeah.
You know, and I apply it, and it works for me.
Yeah.
Okay, but you abuse it. We have beavers without integrity. In fact, the manufacturers of beavers will be, in fact, for them, what is happening in Nigeria is a typical case of how not to use the beavers. Because the total abuse of the process, you know. So, but what, we have more to learn from them. Number one is integrity. Integrity right from the top to the bottom. And I'm not playing on words here. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. We need to learn integrity. When we sell a goat, let us let go of the rope. You understand? Yeah. If we have gotten the beavers, let us use it according to manufacturer's specifications. Nigerians will not let it happen. Or rather, our leaders, our politicians rather, would not let it happen. And so we have so much more to learn from them. Yeah. And for me, the key thing here is integrity. Then let me just add this quickly. I also heard Professor Mahmoud was saying that our INEC chairman, he was saying that, you know, that the reason things work there is that politicians don't change parties here and there. And I'm beginning to wonder what that has got to do with the price of fish in the market. How does that affect the integrity of the process? So I don't know, but that's my thought. We have more to learn from them. And finally, let me add this. The vote of the people spoke. Yep. I said that the young people came out, they were decisive, they wanted a change of government. They voted. Beavers maintained the integrity of the process, the leadership maintained the integrity of the process, and those in power did not attempt to manipulate anything. Once they saw the result, they didn't try to go and change, intercept the beavers' process halfway. You know, they accepted the result even before it was announced finally and conceded. Okay. To the Ghanaians, I say, I don't know, kudos.
Okay. Maybe the most important thing is that maybe Mahmoud can only start talking when he tells us what happened to the technical glitch only at the presidential election. Because there were two elections that day. Yes. There was House, Senate, and presidential. Only presidential technical glitch. The other one, the same election that happened simultaneously, nothing happened to it.
Yeah, that was very convenient.
So he has not told us. Maybe when he answered that question, because till today, because if there's technical glitch, you'll be able to see the trail of what happened.
Very true.
But he has not told us, so he has no right to talk. Let's talk about violence. Okay. It was not that perfect in Ghana. Yeah. We can shout to Ghana, Charlie. It was not that perfect. They burnt the offices of the Electoral Commission in some districts in Ghana. There was a lot of violence leading up to it. There was a journalist that came into Salt FM to disrupt the radio station on there because he felt it was defamed. There's a lot of back and forth. You know, people too tried to carry ballot boxes. There were killings here and there and investigations in so many areas. In fact, things is not that, despite the fact that Bawumia has considered, things are not settled too across the region. So it was not a perfect election as it were in Ghana. I'll come to you, sir, first out there. Let's talk about the violence. Ibrahim, Faruk, let's talk about the violence. Let's talk about the shenanigans. Let's talk about the role even the military played. We saw that viral video of a man challenging the military officer there, you know, and the role how Ghanaians stood firm, because it was not that perfect to the burden of the Electoral Commission's office and the likes. Let's talk about that.
Sorry, please, can you take that last part of the question again?
Let's talk about the violence that happened in this election. The burning of Electoral Commission's office, the attempt to be able to scuttle the elections, people standing up to the military officers in that video that went viral. Let's talk about all the bad parts about this election, because it was not, we can't just say, oh, Ghana did well. It was not all who ruled like that.
Yes, definitely. We've seen some trending videos, like you mentioned, where people were standing up to military officers We've also received reports, yes, of the burning of some of the offices of the Electoral Commission. However, I do not think we can dwell solely on some of these cases. Elections are definitely an emotional event in Ghana, in Nigeria, in West Africa, in many other countries. However, the violence has not impacted on the overall election process. While we condemn violence in any elections, and as observers, as media, as stakeholders in the process, violence has no place. We believe that the rights of the citizens, the voice of the citizens should be respected because ultimately elections are about the will of the people. But there are definitely lessons to learn around managing election security and the conduct of security officials and the conduct of citizens on election day. We have not seen widespread instances of violence in these elections, but where there are isolated cases like we have seen, it's very important to condemn it. We've read the statements where we've seen that everyone that's been involved in some of this violence, it's been said that they'll be brought to book or justice would be done. I think that is very important in ensuring that trust is built or trust is maintained in the electoral process, and that citizens of Ghana are assured that when they go out on election day, their safety and their security is paramount to the Electoral Commission and to all the stakeholders in the process.
Okay, coming to you, let's talk about the violence, the breakdown of law and order, cases of complete turpitude in some cases in Ghana. So it wasn't all that perfect, but it was because the people also did stand to resist anything of such. There were attempts to cut away ballot boxes, and all of that happened in Ghana. Okay,
so I like to look at things. There's a danger of the one-sided story. I was watching the video there, and I was alarmed, but the one thing that stood out for me was that in spite of everything, that military man, if he was in the Nigerian military, he would have killed everybody there and gotten away with it. Yep. The excuse would be simple. You don't touch a military man. Yeah. It's easy to give that excuse. But in spite of that, there was a discipline. You see, in spite of everything, I'm looking beyond what I'm seeing on the screen. I saw the discipline of the military man. Nobody should treat their military that way. I understand and I accept. But he had a discipline. You don't turn your firearms against civilians or innocent civilians. Because in this case, they were not armed. Yes, there was the scuttle here and there. And if there's anybody who is out there to defend a vote, there are two sides to this. You must understand that Ghanaians were fed up and they wanted change. And they wanted it at all costs. Of course, when I say at all costs, it was going to be through the ballot box. I'm not sure exactly who went to their electoral office to burn it and all that, but these things happen. There are those who don't want a change, who are entrenched in power. And so because a change would therefore mean bread off their tables. So they would resist it. They want to maintain the status quo. There will be that group. And then there will be the other group. And in this case, I assume the young people these were the ones that came out massively to vote, who wanted a change. And they were ready to defend by all means. So what you saw there was a clash of interest. Should it be through violence? Obviously not. But the good thing, and that's what he said there, is that at the end of the day, democracy triumphed.
Okay, two things. Ibrahim, Faruk, I just need a clarification from you. Yiaga Africa sent 12 persons because the report says 12 observer mission to Ghana. If it were in Nigeria, you are the program coordinator for Yiaga Africa. When we had election recently, was it in Osun State, right?
No,
Ondo State.
Ondo State.
Was the last, yes.
When we had election in Ondo State in Nigeria, Yiaga Africa sent about 300 foot soldiers to go monitor every polling station in Ondo State. But to Ghana, Yiaga Africa, with all the resources at your disposal, just 12 members on a study mission just to observe. Is that a comment on your assessment, even pre-election assessment of the situation in Ghana and maybe in a subnational part of Nigeria? I would have thought you would deploy so many people, but just 12 persons thinking, oh, maybe Ghanaians are more serious-minded than Nigerians. Is that a comment? A subtle differentiation?
Yiaga Africa has deployed what we call an election study and observation mission. And our mission is led by Dr. Aisha Abdullahi, who is the former Commissioner for Political Affairs at the African Union. We also have some members of the National Assembly, Senator Sharafaddin Ali, who is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, Honorable Prince Adebayo Balogun, who is the chair of the House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters, among other members. So while this is primarily a study mission, we are also here as observers. We are studying some thematic areas in the electoral process, and we are going to release a report subsequently. This is a bit different from the observation process that we have in Nigeria, which is known as the PRVT, the Process Results and Verification for Transparency. In Ghana, there is a coalition of over 40 civil society organizations known as the Coalition of Domestic Observers, CODEO, who employs the same methodology that we employ. I believe that it would be a duplication of efforts for us to deploy the same methodology that we do in Nigeria when we have CODEO here in Ghana, who is a national civil society coalition who employs the same methodology. We also rely heavily on the work that CODEO does. We have received briefings from them and information from them. So best believe that we have credible information for our study and also for the observation that we have. We deployed our teams to 3 out of the 16 regions that we have in Ghana. So one team was in the Greater Accra region. Another team that I was part of deployed to the Volta region, and another team also deployed to the Central region where we have Cape Coast. So we have a sample that we have deployed to regions across the country that enriches our observation and study methodology.
Okay, thank you, Faruk. Dr. Okhai, I beg to disagree with you.
Okay.
You were saying something about what has Professor Mahmoud Yakubu's statement, what has that got to do with the price of fish? No, I think he was making a serious point.
Okay.
That in Ghana, in this election, there were how many candidates? I think nine political parties, right? And there are four independent candidates, 13 in total, but 2 dominant political parties. The point he was making is that you don't find in Ghana people jumping from one political party to the other because they want to win election. Mahama has taken part in 3 elections. He won at the 3rd attempt. Now, he didn't leave the NDC. In Nigeria here, people don't stay in one place, and they will insist on their right because they're just looking for power for its sake. In Ghana, the emphasis is more on commitment to party, ideology. We don't have that kind of thing here, but you say, what has that got to do with the price of fish? Should politics be about opportunism and power for its own sake, or an aggregation of like minds seeking to move society forward?
I agree with you on the point that you've made, but the point I was trying to make is simply this, that, I like to stay focused on what is the issue at hand, which is the election. And for me, the reason I made the point is that changing of party had nothing to do with conceding results and, lessons that we needed to learn from them. But be that as it may.
Technical glitch.
Yeah, so the point for me is simply this, and we all know it. In Nigeria, political parties are nothing but SPVs, special purpose vehicles for acquiring power. Precisely what it is. And so the issue of ideology is out the window. And so it is what it is. We have to face the fact that, unfortunately, that's what the situation is in Nigeria here. But the Ghanaians, not just in Ghana, but across the globe, people have parties are ideologically based, people stay in them and grow in them, but the case is different here.
Okay, so you say here ideology doesn't matter. We don't need it.
It's not that we don't need it. We do need it. It will better our process. It will make us better. It will strengthen us. Unfortunately, the integrity is our biggest problem here, if I may sum it up.
Okay, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Victor Okhai, and also Ibrahim Faruk, joining us from Accra, Ghana. Thank you very much indeed.